drama. Did the shows make a job of it this time around? Well, let's find out from Mark.
Job, written by Maxwell Friedrich, directed by Michael Hertz. And as the play opens, Jane is pointing a gun at psychotherapist Lloyd. She's been out of work on paid leave ever since a video of her screaming insanely at her workplace went viral. As a care manager for an unnamed tech company, she had the power to eliminate disturbing, violent, and sexually criminal content. She hopes to coerce or convince Lloyd to write a report recommending that she return to work. It's a far-fetched premise, but she is desperate. She and Lloyd both seem to enjoy jobs where they feel they can help people. For me, the play did not get interesting until an even more far-fetched but exciting twist occurred late in the show. At many points in their discussion, rectangles of light flashed on in the background. Perhaps they were indicative of moods, but I rarely could feel the connection. To me, this was a rather mediocre play with a terrible light show accompanying it. I like the decor of the therapist's workplace with comfy, expensive, soft white armchairs and numerous green potted plants. The acting seemed competent enough, but dealing with these improbable characters, it's really hard to judge. I see no reason to recommend this play to anyone, mixed faces minus.
I saw this off-Broadway and I did not like it at all, but then Benjamin said, no, they did change it for Broadway. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like it better the second time around. I didn't, but they did improve it because off-Broadway, they had the whole thing, these strange grinding noises, which I couldn't understand what they were saying at all. So at least this time I could hear what they were saying. And this is a psychological thriller with a cat and mouse aspect to it, but there are funny moments to relieve the tension. I mean, the acting was wonderful. I mean, Miss Lemon, who I just found out was a granddaughter of Jack Lemmon, is very earnest, and Peter Friedman plays this very calming, everyday guy. I bet though it's a really good read because it does have a very surprising ending, and I know the audience just loved this, but I'm giving it a mixed face plus.
I found out that my friend Betty Bourne died, and it just broke my heart. You know, I have known Betty Bourne and Paul Shaw for decades, and I have loved them since ever I met them. I met them at Theatre for the New City when they were on 2nd Avenue, and they were doing this Blue Lips, and I went to see it, and I was doing one of my own one-woman show where I used to wear a lot of glitter, and here I go, and this troupe, they are glittered up, and it was like I've never seen anything like this in my life. And when I met them after the show, Betty says to me, listen, where did you get this glitter from? Did you steal our ideas? I said, I had to meet with you to steal your ideas, but this is the first time I've seen you, but I've been using glitter because I've always loved glitter and all. This was our introduction, but I've never seen talent like that.
Bina, I just want to interject at this point. I saw that performance of Blue Lips and with my friend Lisa, and for months afterwards, we just would look at each other and go, balloons, and crack each other up. I mean, that it stayed with you. It was so fun. I was like a huge fan ever since. I just think it's so exciting you actually got to be friends with Betty Bourne, because I was just a super fan.
Betty Bourne was my mentor and my comforter from that day on.
Diana Lee's Sex and the Abbey follows canonesses in 10th century Gandersheim Abbey in Saxony as they try to fend off Hildesheim Abbey from taking them over. The Holy Roman Emperor Otto the Great is coming to help settle the dispute. Kreutzwitz, the elder and leader of the group, has written a short play to sway Otto into taking their side. Until now, no woman has written a play before. Each secular canonist has their own personality traits. Matilda is an innocent who loves to read. Adelaide loves music and to sing and is overly devoted to Hartsford. And Hadwig hates the world. Something traumatic must have happened to her. They are taught devotion, chastity, and strength, but is that enough to fend off the male-dominated world? The play within the play centers on Drusiana, who was terrorized by Callimachus, which caused her to want to die. But because Callimachus repents after he is dead, all is forgiven. This really rankles Hadwig, who wants Drusiana to have her revenge on Callimachus. This does not go over very well with Horsfit, who removes Hedwig from the play. Will Horsfit relent? Would the play save the abbey? Having no knowledge of religious practices in medieval time, this was quite fascinating, watching strong women trying to buck the system in their own ways, but can they? The cast was really splendid. I could see Jenaniah's devotion, Tia Casimira's chastity, who had no idea about sex, Bella's strength in trying to make her voice heard, and Francesca Fernandez in her devotion and strength and her love for her outfit. This is well worth the trip to the Brick in Brooklyn. Happy face. But now to hear from our medieval specialist, Lisa Ramaci.
Yes, I majored in medieval history and humanities in college. And while I understand that this was not intended to be a historic play, unfortunately, that's the only way that I could view it through the eyes of somebody who knows a lot about the time period. And it is true that Hrosvit was the first Western poet and playwright known to history. And I don't know about the rest of the story, but I had a problem with the play. It was an interesting premise, but it had far too many incursions from the 21st century into it. I mean, these women cursed like sailors. They brought a lot of 21st century attitude to basically young women that would have been raised to be submissive. And I can understand some of them being furious, like Hadvig, played by Belle Lee, who I felt was the best. Because in those days, if you were like the second daughter of a family and your family didn't have the money to give you a dowry to get married, they basically gave you to the church and you were put into a nunnery for your entire life, whether you wanted to or not. And obviously, several of these ladies did not want to be there. There were strange plot twists that, suddenly two of these women were being plucked from the nunnery to get married. And interestingly enough, Francesca Fernandez, who plays Adelheid, who performs in the play for Otto, the Roman emperor, Otto's had a wife later in life whose name was Adelheid. And I just wonder if the playwright meant for us to think that he saw her perform in this play and then married her. I give it good marks for the lighting, the costumes, the music, and for the acting, because it was uniformly across the board very good, especially Belle Lee as Hadwig, because as somebody who's always cranky, I really identified with her. I take away from it for the clash of the 10th and 21st centuries. So I give it a mixed happy face.
Cola Scola's Oh Mary shows a behind the look at Lincoln's life at the White House that will flip your wig. Poor Mary Todd Lincoln has taken to alcohol to assuage her misery over not being able to pursue her own dreams. Meanwhile, her very unhappy husband, Abraham, ogles his assistant for relief from his wife's constant drama. Mary's chaperone is as wretched as she has to endure Mary's cruel pranks and revelations. To appease his arrogant wife, Abe hires a teacher who hopefully will distract her with acting lessons. This high-strung, high-stakes comedy, zanily directed by Sam Pinkleton, will have you gasping for breath from uninterrupted laughing. Cole Escola flouts about with scheming abandon. Conrad Ricamora tries to control a country in a civil war, a hysterical wife, and strong urges. Bianca Lee tries to maintain her dignity in impossible situations. Tony Macht innocently tries to fulfill his duties no matter where it takes him. James Scully is dashing with his own desires and plots afoot. There is a reason this is the comedy sensation of the year. What to do with the company in town? Take them to Oh Mary. They will thank you. This gets a major happy face.
So I found it to be a little redundant. I felt like it was one joke that was really being stretched out for 90 minutes. It felt like it was beating a dead horse. And I get that the show's kind of a farce. But I don't know. I found it a little difficult to sit through. I definitely appreciated the
Great
talent
critic,
in the
you
show.
really don't like anything.
I enjoyed the talent. Like you said, Cole, incredible energy, just does not have a moment off stage, barely a chance to catch their breath. And you can certainly get that sense by the last moments of the show. What else? Conrad. Conrad was funny and definitely just beaming of energy that was palpable. It reminded me of POTUS, which I enjoyed a couple seasons ago. However, that had a little more variety. It just didn't feel like it was the same joke. It was people kind of running around the White House, which I guess has elements of that here too. But yeah, I think Cole and watching Cole in subsequent interviews really just is what makes this show as unique and memorable as it is. For me though, didn't land. It just, I guess different, like Eva says, different strokes for different folks.
Well, see, I thought, oh, this is one we're both going to agree on because I'm surprised because it's not just it doesn't run thin because there's so many layers to her craziness. It just gets bigger and bigger, and then he's trying to. It's funny because you see, have Abraham Lincoln is always so serious, running this, having a civil war, and then all these crazy shenanigans are going on, and these actors were so great at comic timing. It was, you have to admit, it was a fantastic ensemble.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay, so you give it a.
It's a good question. What do I want to give it? I give it a mixed face.
Mike B. Breen and David Rafaelitis, Cellino v. Barnes, have written a play about those ubiquitous jinglers whose lives were an accident waiting to happen. This was a real eye-opener into this law firm that was just an annoying earworm of an ad. First of all, they are from Buffalo, and being from that part of the state, I was astounded to learn this. I just assumed they were from New York City because of the prevalence of their ads. Eric Williams Morris played Ross Cellino as a lovable buffoon with crazy ideas and a deep desire to get his father to be proud of him, but he was constantly screwing up. Meanwhile, you have Noah Weisberg playing Steve Barnes as a completely different counterpart to Cellino. He's very serious and up to date with every pertinent law case there is. Barnes provides a bit of an anchor for Cellino, who is quite unhinged at times. Eventually, even Barnes begins to have grandiose ideas. This creates some great comic moments. I don't remember chortling so much through an entire show. They even managed to provide a lump in the throat moment during all their cutthroat maneuverings. Mike B. Breen and David Rafaelitis were very clever to realize that this unbelievable story is what great theater is all about. Convoluted plot, larger than life characters, and the ultimate hubris. Remarkably, this was directed by Wesley Taylor and Alex Weiss, who I know as great actors, and now I can add great directors to their accomplishments. When people find out that you are a critic, the first thing they ask you is to recommend a play. This is a play that first comes to mind. Who knew lawyers could be so entertaining? I give this a happy face plus, and you can find Sasha Clark's review on the Facebook page.
In Theater for the New City's 2024 Dream Up Festival with artistic director Crystal Field, they're offering 16 shows this year, and they go until September the 16th. I've seen 3 of them so far, and the one that I saw recently is called Colder by the Water. The story opens on Christmas Eve in Rockingham County, Virginia, where Maya is preparing for her mother's visit. Now, striving for perfection, Maya is anxiously trying to get the family home in some sort of order. Her stress is compounded with other family members being in the way and making more of a mess the second she gets something straightened out. Playwright and director Brie Madden Oliveras brings us this beautiful story. The other family members include her husband, Amos, who is the one that remains calm, and he's doing his best to keep the peace. They have two teenage daughters. One is 16-year-old Kennedy and 15-year-old Kendrick. They leisurely enjoy their holiday by lounging around in their pajamas while plotting their teenage style getaway once the family goes to bed. And throughout the play, they're referred to as the twins, although they're 11 months apart. Maya's sister Maurice is staying with them, and she has her own stuff going on in the middle of the chaos. And their neighbor, the pastor's wife, drops by to have some fellowship, and she's got some different things she likes to talk with them about. She's anxious to see Maya's mother. And then they have another, I believe it's their neighbor. His name is Pusha, who's trying, he sells like local secondhand things where he's bringing things by to the family and hoping to make some money so he can get himself some Christmas treats. As I was watching the play, I was thinking how familiar it sounds. Whether it's, the angst of putting on our best behavior, whatever that is, to make a good impression as our loved ones convene for holidays, whether it's a cultural or family tradition, the different things we observe in the mess and the chaos and the confusion. I just love the play. Miss Madden Oliveras lovingly brings to us all of this in a very loving and compelling way. There are many moments where love is displayed, even though there's pain, there's despair. And she offers, most of the characters had great monologues revealing their hidden pains and desires. But overall, I felt like the story just brought me hope. And as we witnessed the dynamics of an imperfect family through these tough times. And I don't know, I was thinking about it this morning. I just saw it yesterday, and parts of it reminded me of why I love Thornton Wilder's Our Town. They're just kind of moments that aren't so in your face spectacular, but as you look back on it, and I'm a lover of that particular play, you see more of what was there or what wasn't there, and certainly what we might miss. Oh, and I meant to mention one thing. In the acknowledgements, the director, playwright, Bree, there's a whole list of acknowledgements, but when I read the acknowledgements this morning, I noted that the things she acknowledged, well, her first thing was God and theater for the new city, but she made note, old men on their porches, starry nights, fishing, love, laughter, community rooms, doing things for the plot, being loud, taking up space, peace, just beautiful things. And of course, there were lots of names. In reading that, I certainly could see it reflected in this work that she's offered us. And this was a world premiere. So again, it's part of the Dream Up Festival, and it goes until September the 8th. There are a total of 16 shows for the Dream Up Festival, and the festival is running until September the 15th. I give it a happy face plus.
Aside from Dream Up at Theater for New City, they have regular plays going on as well. And this one also has a Christmas theme to it. Claude Solnick's The Christmas Express, with music by John Paul Louis and lyrics and music by Matthew Lightfee, is about Santa stressing about getting his old sled fixed up in time for Christmas. Neil and DJ Christmas think they have created the perfect modern sled with lots of cool features called the Christmas Express. Santa is skeptical, as is his second in command and BFF, Rennick. They must prove the sled is safe and take it up in a demonstration. Arden, a very earnest elf who is underappreciated, catches Rennick tampering with the Christmas Express. Rennick, being a smooth-talking villain, convinces Arden that it is for Santa's own good to keep him safe, and Arden goes along with him. Neil and DJ crash. They need to get to the Christmas village to get them home. They meet a tour guide and a snowbot along the way. Sharon, the Claus's kid, is in love with Neil and is very worried. Her mother reassures her and is trying to get Santa to retire already. Will Rennick's evil plan ruin everything? Will Neil and DJ make it back in time? Who will take over when Santa retires? This was only the second performance, so I'm sure it will pick up the pace longer into the run. Some actors had stronger voices than others. Mrs. Claus had on the most gorgeous gown, and Snowbot had a spectacular costume. Eric Grant made a wonderful, invisible, mustache-twirling villain. Kyra G showed how a good elf can be persuaded by evil. Christian Sierre was adorable as the gung-ho sled inventor. Unfortunately, Ali Buska's character was so annoyingly in one's face that I found her very grating. But that was her character. I'd love to see her in something else. It was odd to see a Christmas show now, but always welcome to see a new twist on the story. Mixed faith.
Hurricane Season, written by Sawyer Estes. And I want to talk about just right away about the way they welcome you, the projections. They greet you, they've got projections around with large screen televisions, radios going. It's as if it's at the highest volume, but not uncomfortable. And they have ticker tape stock exchange just to kind of show the chaos and anxiety of what the two characters are going through. So this is how they open the play. The play is about two people, a couple. They've been married 25 years. They're 50 something. Anne is a journalist. She's researching irrational fear. And Tom, I believe, is a retired investment person. He still is involved in day trading, and that's kind of a hobby for him. And they're struggling with aging, maybe finding their way. Perhaps they're partially retired. We don't really learn that, but then they become involved in extramarital affairs, which leads them on their own personal journeys. I want to know, it's kind of a modern play, which I enjoyed. It's different than what I normally would sign up for. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The choreography was absolutely wonderful. I happened to be with someone that knows a lot about choreography, so she was able to explain some of the things, which was terrific. Again, the play is Hurricane Season. It's on Theater Row. It closes September the 7th at 7:30 p.m. And I want to give it a happy face.
Hi, this is Mark Savitt's review of Empire the Musical, and my review you can see on the Facebook page. We just saw it last night. Caroline Sherman and Robert Hall's Empire is a musical about the construction of the Empire State Building. The project to create a tall building named for the former New York State Governor Al Smith, who is the main sponsor of the project, started in the joyous pre-Wall Street crash of '29. After the crash, despite incredible problems, the effort seemed to be a way of expressing hope and providing employment in the dismal time. And the work schedule was nearly impossible. They had to complete one story a day for 100 days to meet a deadline in May of '31. They were also trying to be taller than the Chrysler Building. A major force in getting the work done was Wally Wolodsky, a super organized, super efficient woman who commanded all the equipment and material to arrive on time and knew how to sweet talk everyone to keep this project going. Major focus is on the men and one woman of many minorities ethnically who heroically worked on the scaffolding. Prominent among them were Mohawk tribesmen and one woman from Canada. There were Italians and Irish and Eastern Europeans, and a major structural element of the piece is the presence of Sylvie Lee, a woman from 1976, who has sour feelings about the effort because her father was a worker who died during the construction. Mark felt it was confusing because he had no idea for the longest time who her father was. I agree with him on that. Sylvie was born after he died, so she never really knew him. Her mother was the Mohawk woman working on the scaffolding. We don't see the workers doing construction. Instead, there is wonderful choreography to suggest their effort without any awkward mimicry of construction. Mark loved the songs and music, but he loved the choreography even more by Lorna Ventura. Oh, it was amazing. Mark learned a lot from this. Mark didn't know how involved L. Smith was, and that the name Empire State Building was only adopted very late in the game. Opposition to the building is centered on society lady, Mrs. Janet Arthur, who represents moneyed Fifth Avenue and sneers at the lower class ethnics who are doing the work. Sylvie will learn much about the building effort and come to understand both her mother and her daughter, who also wants to work in construction. Mark was impressed by director Katie Huffman's ability to smoothly present the huge cast and sprawling story smoothly and seemingly effortless. Mark thoroughly enjoyed this and highly recommends it. Mark gives this a happy face. Next show is September 21st, and there's lots happening this month. Theater is back. The Bushwick Starr has an open house Saturday, September 7th from 4 to 8 p.m. Free food. Basil Twist Dogugaeshi, September 11th through 19th at Japan Society. Teatro Grattacielo presents Beyond the Horizon at Eugene O'Neill Place, September 15th at 4 o'clock. Nurse by Halliday, September 18th at 7 p.m. at the Ting. Dixon Place Hot Festival starts September 21st. Red Bull, The Beast of Hungary, September 2017, starts at the Sheen Center. Hotsy Totsy Burlesque Tribute to Doctor Who, Thursday, September 12th at 8 o'clock at the Slipper Room. Attorney-client part of Dream Up Festival is going on until September 15th. Frigid New York, in association with Little Theater of Winston-Salem, presents Escaping Dreamland, September 8th and 9th at Under St. Mark's. The Odyssey in Ancient Greek will be September 13th and 15th. And Shakespeare's The Tempest will be September 15th at Art Thing. And Abrams Art Center is back with Merrick Cry, Cry, Cry Goner, September 19th to 22nd. Nyack is having its third annual Phoenix Festival till September 12th to September 22nd. York Theater right now is presenting their New to New York. It's like Mufti's, only it's new, so it's like staged reading of new musicals. And the first one in the series is called Now Comes the Fun Part, the How the F Did I Get This Old musical, with a book by James Heinemann and Lynn Halliday, lyrics by Mark Waldrop, music by Jeffrey Loden, and directed by Mark Waldrop. It's a series of songs and sketches about the joys of turning 50 with this amazing cast. But that's closed. But coming up, you can still see Twist of Fate, Monte Cristo, and Inundated. So really go to New York and check out their New to New York series. Next up is Twist of Fate from September 7th to the 15th, Monte Cristo, September 21 through 29.